How good is your listening skill? Let's find out. I have 10 questions for you, from beginner to advanced. For each question, I will give you 3 options. You will then listen to an audio file and choose the correct option. And then I will share the correct option with you. Ready? Let's start with the easiest question. Question 1. What did the speaker buy? Clothes, books, or electronics? Ready? Let's listen.
On Friday afternoon, I went to the new shopping mall with my sister. We walked around for 2 hours. I looked at some beautiful laptops and smartphones in a shop, but they were too expensive. In the end, I went into a department store and bought a blue jacket and 2 warm t-shirts for my upcoming holiday.
Really easy, right? This is what the speaker said. I went into a department store and bought a blue jacket and 2 warm t-shirts. So, clothes. If it was too easy for you, think of it as a warm-up activity because after question 5, you will really be challenged. Let's go. Question 2. On which day did the speaker go to the cinema? Friday, Saturday, or Sunday? Let's go.
My weekend was very busy. On Friday night, I stayed at home because I was exhausted from work and just cooked dinner. On Saturday evening, I met my friends at the shopping center and we watched a brilliant new comedy film together. The next day, on Sunday, I visited my parents.
This is what the speaker said. On Saturday evening, I met my friends at the shopping center and we watched a brilliant new comedy film together. They watched the film. Where? At the cinema. On which day? Saturday. That's the correct answer. Let's get to a higher level question. A2 level. How did the speaker get to work this morning? By car, by train, or on foot?
Usually, I drive my car to the office every morning because it is fast. But today, the traffic in the city center was terrible, and I didn't want to be late. So I decided to leave my keys at home, put on my comfortable shoes, and walk all the way to work. It took me 40 minutes, but it was great exercise.
Very easy, very simple. This is what the speaker said. And walk all the way to work on foot. I hope you're enjoying this challenge so far. Let's go to question 4. What did the speaker dislike about their hotel room? The view from the window? The size of the room? Or the noise from the street? Let's listen.
The hotel we stayed at last week was quite interesting. When we arrived, I was surprised because the bedroom was huge. There was so much space for our luggage. The window looked out over a beautiful, quiet park, which was lovely. However, the hotel was located right next to a busy tram station. Every 15 minutes, a loud tram passed by, and it kept us awake all night.
This is what the speaker said. Every 15 minutes, a loud tram passed by, and it kept us awake all night. So, the noise from the street was the problem. We are halfway there. Question 5. Why did the speaker choose this specific university? Because of its excellent reputation? Because it was close to their hometown? Or because the tuition fees were affordable? Let's go.
Choosing a university was incredibly stressful. My parents really wanted me to study at the city college because it was just a 10-minute drive from our family home, so I wouldn't have to move away. I also looked at a famous university in London with an amazing reputation, but it was far too expensive. Ultimately, I found a great campus in Scotland. It wasn't prestigious and it required a long train ride to visit home, but the annual costs were low enough that I didn't need a massive student loan.
This is what the speaker said. But the annual costs were low enough that I didn't need a massive student loan. Annual cost of a university is called a tuition fee. So the student is saying that the tuition fee was low, it was affordable. And the student didn't need to take out a student loan. If you are enjoying this lesson, I want to tell you one thing. Don't forget to download my Ultimate English book, which has more than 500 pages of lesson summaries. 500 pages for free. How? Click on the link above this video or scan this QR code. On my website, you can get it for free. Go ahead, get your copy right now. Good. Let's continue. Question 6. Now we're getting to B1, B2 level. intermediate, and upper intermediate. So listen carefully. Why did the speaker change their restaurant reservation? A guest had dietary restrictions? The group size increased unexpectedly, or they wanted a cheaper menu. Let's go.
I had originally booked a small table for 4 people at an Italian trattoria for Friday night. I checked the menu in advance to ensure they had gluten-free options because one of my friends cannot eat wheat, and everything looked perfect. But on Thursday morning, my cousin called and asked if he and his wife could join us. Since the trattoria was fully booked and couldn't give us a larger table, I had to cancel it and find a completely different restaurant that could accommodate 6 of us.
So why did they cancel? Because, look at the script, my cousin called and asked if he and his wife could join us. So the group size increased and they had to look for another place. Let's go to B2 level. Question 7. Why was the flight delayed? A. Severe weather conditions. B. Mechanical issues with the plane. Or C. An air traffic control strike. Let's go.
Our trip to Paris started with total chaos at the airport. When we arrived at the gate, the sky was pitch black and a massive thunderstorm was rolling in. Everyone assumed that was why our flight status changed to delayed. However, the captain came over the loudspeaker and announced that the bad weather had actually cleared up along our flight path. The real issue was a sudden technical failure in the cockpit's navigation system that required a replacement part. To make matters worse, we later found out air traffic controllers were planning a strike for the following week, which would have ruined our return flight anyway.
What was the real issue? The real issue was a sudden technical failure in the cockpit's navigation system. That's option B. A mechanical issue with the plane. Okay, how are you doing? Let's go to the C1 level. Now we're getting to the advanced part. I hope you are ready for the challenge. The first question of the C1 level, question 8. What does the speaker believe is the primary benefit of learning a language with AI? Very cool, right? What does the speaker believe is the primary benefit of learning a language with AI? A. It offers flawless grammar corrections. B. It eliminates the fear of making mistakes. Or C. It stimulates authentic cultural conversation. Very fancy question. Clearly you can see that this is C1. So let's go and listen.
There's a lot of hype surrounding AI language applications right now. Software developers love to boast about their advanced algorithmic grammar engines, claiming they spot errors better than human tutors. Though, frankly, I find their automated feedback rigid and occasionally inaccurate. Others praise AI for mimicking native speakers from different cultures, but it still feels synthetic and lacks real human soul. Where AI truly shifts the needle for language acquisition is psychological. For years, I watched students freeze up in classrooms, completely paralyzed by the anxiety of sounding foolish in front of a real person. With an AI interface, that psychological barrier vanishes entirely. You can stumble, mispronounce words, and fail 100 times without a shred of judgment, which builds the raw confidence needed before you step into the real world.
So what was the answer? Look at this part of the script. The speaker says, with an AI interface, that psychological barrier vanishes entirely. You can stumble, mispronounce words, and fail 100 times without a shred of judgment. So you can make mistakes without being judged. And that's option B, eliminating the fear of making mistakes. And guys, this is absolutely crucial. If you are afraid of making mistakes, you will never be able to speak. So I have a recommendation. After finishing this video, go ahead and watch this other video of mine on YouTube. You can open it right now by clicking the link. And then after this video, watch it. This video will erase your fear of speaking English. Now let's get to question number 9, another advanced question. What does the speaker think was primarily responsible for the neighborhood's decline? The neighborhood has declined, but what's responsible? A. Rising crime rates. B. Local businesses closing down. And C. Families moving away. Let's listen.
I grew up in that neighborhood and watched it change slowly over the years. Most people I talk to blame the crime, pointing out that the streets became unsafe. And yes, antisocial behavior certainly escalated, but I always maintained that was a symptom rather than the catalyst. Others point to the empty shops on the high street. Businesses did close one after another, and it was painful to watch, But you have to ask yourself why they closed. It was because the customer base had already evaporated. That is what nobody wants to say directly. Families left first, quietly, one by one, searching for better schools elsewhere. Once that demographic exodus started, everything else followed in a domino effect. The shops lost income, the empty streets felt less safe, and the area just hollowed out from the inside.
If you listen carefully, you could easily find the answer. This is the answer. Look at the script. He said, families left first. Finished. That's the answer. Families left first. And which one is that? It's option C, families moving away. And then later in the script, he described the act of families leaving for better places as a domino effect. So that was why the whole decline began. That was the main reason why there was a decline in the neighborhood. Let's go to the last question, question 10, C2 level, highest level. I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel and want to receive other videos, click subscribe right now. Let's go to question number 10. What is the speaker's primary critique of the new remote work policy? This is a very controversial subject around the world. Remote work. Option A, it decreases overall company productivity. Option B, it makes a corporate culture of micromanagement. And option C, it caused widespread resentment over salary cuts. Fancy, fancy, fancy words. Let's see.
When the executive board rolled out the permanent hybrid framework, the consensus among the tech press was that it was a progressive victory for work-life balance. Outwardly, the metrics paint a glowing picture. Deliverables are being met ahead of schedule, and the overhead costs of maintaining a central corporate headquarters have plummeted. But that surface-level data completely misses the mark. What was marketed as a grand gesture of autonomy has fundamentally morphed into a digital panopticon. Management, gripped by an underlying anxiety over losing physical visibility, has simply substituted physical oversight with insidious tracking metrics. We aren't being trusted to work from home. We are being monitored down to the millisecond of keystroke activity under the guise of flexibility. Employees are hitting targets not out of newfound inspiration, but out of absolute paranoia. It's a textbook case of giving with one hand while tightening the leash with the other.
Very interesting, right? Full of high-level words. So have a look at the script. This is what the speaker said. The speaker clearly mentioned that we aren't being trusted to work from home. We are being monitored down to the millisecond of keystroke activity under the guise of flexibility. So micromanagement is the main issue. Okay, now go ahead in the comments section. Let me and everyone else know how many out of 10 questions did you answer correctly? 1, 5, 7, 10. If you got a 10 out of 10, congratulations, your listening is great. But usually, when your listening is good, it doesn't necessarily mean your speaking is good. So I want you to also take this other test, another video I made, which is about an English speaking test. Go ahead and watch this video after this one. See you soon. Bye.